like to do it like,
Yes.
I think that some other stuff you can get by with just winging.
Yeah.
Got your fancy water in there?
Yes.
No, I think that's good.
Entertain a motion
Jim,
after the
Fiji water.
Yeah.
questions.
Correct.
You drank it?
Snake River overlook Diane. So
I can only afford one.
Snake River and the Teton Mountain, the Big Titty Mountain.
Is presenting.
This is the swamp I was roaming around in when I got chased out.
And then he will
Yeah.
start.
And getting there, incredible, because you don't just go there. You gotta be way back toward Jackson and take this road that runs in front of the range, and then you just pull off into this pasture land and you follow this little rutted path, and then it kind of gets less and less obvious, and you wind up down here at the swamp. And a bison chases you out.
It'll need to be, after he does the overview, it'll need to be a motion to open the hearing with regards
Have
to
much of it.
the first address.
Yes.
Ben,
Well, he
I've
may,
been
because
lucky
of the way it's set up,
to
Okay.
be able to do
we may just start
some of the
with an
things that
overview
I've
of all
been
three
able
of
to
them at
do.
the same time.
It is an overview of all.
Right.
Wait a minute, David.
Is David doing that?
Yes. Mhm. David, come up. Come here.
You got it.
So there's one, your overview is for all of the parcels, right? Or the concept?
I'm looking for easels.
Got it.
I'll let you know. I'm just gonna sit back and watch it.
I appreciate when you offer correct legal advice.
Hello, sir.
I have to tell you something. Sorry. Good.
Yes. Yes.
He won't do it.
Like he had, like Steve Shear, first time he got it like 2 days beforehand. The day he was on the bench, he told me in the letter asking for continuance today that he is available on July 18th and will be here on July 18th. Now, I can't promise you that some court
Yeah. When it starts getting cantankerous, you can't plan for this.
but at a certain point, I'll say, Steve, that's enough. Send somebody else to do all this. But he, in his last letter, he said, I am available and it's on my calendar for July 18th.
The weather scared the hell out of me. I've been flying out there. They said it was nothing but project of the city for me.
It's different. It's
Mark, why couldn't we do this in 505?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
They can move anything scared of us. Everybody can move.
That was done by a local act, or if it was done by
I'm sorry, not Eric. David.
constitutional amendment, and then it became part of 83.
Can we do this in 505?
Look, I think it was done by local act.
The arena's going there.
Yeah. There's so many questions in the decision here.
Down to work it out.
He said it was your fault.
I asked Denise that question and she knew the answer.
So I drafted the legislation on the Chatham County Recreation. I used a lot of time.
Was that email?
Provisions in it.
What time was that email you
How
got?
are you?
So Tom told me
If they would
he
just
just wanted to
understand,
resign, and so,
it's not
yeah, of course I had to
taking
know.
as well as, this is just giving them.
But he told me he was going
There's
to,
still
that he
room
was going to
for
retire. and
Thank you.
Anything I needed to get through, I
This,
needed
the
to get,
next
so I
week
got
or
the
something
transit
going around,
authority
you
and
can't
the
touch.
corporation authority.
Daughter Shabazz is here. I saw her earlier. Here she is.
Right, so still another minute left,
Yeah.
you know.
We got I didn't bring my, can I look at this? Can I look at your
Okay, my bad.
itinerary
What,
thing.
you
I
want the
mean, your,
list?
yeah, yeah. Damn, I got one. Agenda, I'm sorry, I left mine in the other room. .5:30, ready to get cranked up here. This is a special called meeting and special agenda. We got 3 properties that we're looking at to use eminent domain to acquire portions of those properties to move forward with the road work that we have to do to develop the properties for the arena and the areas around the arena property. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to City Attorney.
Thanks, sir. Denise Cooper in my office is going to handle.
I got it. Okay, Denise, you got it.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Miss Denise is going to handle it. You got it, Miss Denise.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As eloquently stated by the mayor, we are here with regards to road project on West Gwinnett Street. There we go. Make sure you all can hear me clearly. With regards to eminent domain to portions of properties located in this area. It's only a portion of the properties, not the entire property. We have David Keating here, the Director of Real Estate Services, who will actually give a full overview of the project and as it relates to each individual parcel. The important things to think about here is that this hearing is to allow authority of the staff to move forward with the process. It is not there's no immediate action that will be taken. Negotiation opportunities still remain, but they are unable to move forward without the authority from this council. So that is all that this hearing is about. Valuations have been presented and discussed with each party, as well as that can still continue afterwards. So at this point, I will now turn it over to Mr. Keating. We'll have, just to be clear, we'll have a hearing on each parcel.
Yes.
Okay? All right.
Which the parcel we're discussing now is acquire the portion of the 1302 Gwinnett Street. Is that right? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. Thank you for your time this evening. I know it's been a long day. I'll try to be a good steward of your time. David Keating, for the record, Director of Real Estate Services at the city. The mission of the Real Estate Department is Places for Savannah's Future. And our team buys, sells, leases, licenses, operates, manages, and maintains city properties. And I'm here this evening to discuss an exciting place in Savannah's future, the Gwinnett Street Gateway Project. This project is vital to improve access and circulation to the new arena and canal district. If the road is not improved, then traffic jams and unhappy customers will result as thousands of people try to enter and exit the arena on event days. Currently, Gwinnett Street is a 2-lane street, and it is in the flood zone. And so the plan is to widen Gwinnett to 4 lanes, add bike paths, add sidewalks, add streetscaping, and make it a pedestrian-friendly, vehicular-friendly, complete streets project that's the gateway to the arena and canal district. The road will be raised up out of the flood zone. It will be a bridge as part of this road that will bridge the Springfield Canal. And these changes are vital, again, to the success of the future arena. This is a time-sensitive matter. Right-of-way must be acquired for the road construction to commence and for the road to be completed in time when the arena is scheduled to open. The city will need to acquire right-of-way across 9 parcels involving 9 separate owners. So, just wanna, staff follows federal and state laws when we acquire right-of-way for road purposes. Staff obtains appraisals from well-qualified, state-certified appraisers to provide just compensation to owners. And the appraiser we used on this project is one of very few appraisers in the region that are on the Georgia Department of Transportation approved appraiser list, and is a woman business. Staff then meets with owners to review plans and plats and to make offers based on appraised value. Owners are provided a brochure stating their rights as owners. It's a copy of the brochure. This informs them of the various rights. Staff tries to negotiate a mutually agreeable deal. However, sometimes owners don't have clear title and they're unable to convey title even if they wanted to. And sometimes the deal cannot be reached. And so that's why we're here tonight. I'd like to give you a quick overview on the status of where we are with the project. Okay, so to the right on your screen is I-16, and then out to the circular area is Stiles Avenue, and that is the segment of the roadway that is going to be improved by this project. And there's 9 owners, not including the city. So the city is an owner of some of these parcels as well. So we have down in the bottom right of your picture, which is the southwest corner of 16 and Gwinnett Street, is a parcel owned by Mr. Paxton. And we've negotiated a deal with Mr. Paxton. He's been very generous in working with the city, and we have negotiated a donation agreement, and that came before this council today and was approved today. So we're ready to proceed on that parcel. The next parcel, as you progress to the west, right there, that's a city property. So we already own that. We don't have to buy right away from ourselves. Then the next parcel is a parcel owned by the Jackson brothers. And so I'm pleased to report that we met this past week with Mr. Jackson, and we've negotiated a deal, and we're going to be bringing that to you, council, in the next meeting or two, as soon as we finalize the paperwork. And then as you progress west across Stiles Avenue, there's a car wash, and that car wash is owned by Tam Dong and Trin Luong, and I'm pleased to report that we have negotiated a deal with them, and that came before council this afternoon, and you approved that. So we will be closing on that soon. And then as you progress west, the last parcel on the south end of the road is over here, and that's owned by the church. And I'm pleased to report that we negotiated a deal with the church, and that came before council, I believe, at the last meeting. So that was a voluntary transaction for some right-of-way. And then if we start on the north side of the road, and we can start again over at the I-16 side. Whoop. Right here is a parcel owned by Chatham Steel. And so we are in negotiations with Chatham Steel, and then the adjoining property owner to the west is the Tenenbaum family. And we're in negotiations with them as well. There was a little delay in getting the appraisals for those, but we hope to have those wrapped up in the next meeting or two and bring those to you soon. And then we have another city parcel, the city lot parcel, which is right here. And then progressing west across Stiles Avenue are 3 remaining parcels that are required for the road project. And those 3 parcels are before you this evening. So the first parcel, and then just to this exhibit kind of shows the right-of-way, the little strips that are required from these various property owners. As you can see, the largest parcel involved is over the Paxton parcel. So these are the 3 parcels that are before you this evening. The one at the corner, which is 1302 Gwinnett Street. The one immediately to the west, which is 1308 Gwinnett Street, and then the third to the west, 1310 Gwinnett Street. So 1302 Gwinnett Street. This property is located at the northwest corner of Gwinnett and Stiles Avenue, currently operating as a convenience store with a gas island. The owner of record is Josie Shepard. The city requires a right-of-way of about 460.7 square feet. The city also needs some easement for slope and construction of 1,069.7 square feet. The required right-of-way and easement have been appraised. The appraiser met with the owner on January 12th. An offer of appraised value was subsequently made to Mr. Shepard. Mr. Shepard to date has not accepted, countered, or rejected. He and his sister, I believe, have asked several questions, and we've tried to provide answers to those questions, and we're happy to continue to provide any information that they may need to help make a decision. And staff will continue to try to negotiate a deal. However, at this time, due to the passage of time, we're at a critical juncture where we need to have the use of eminent domain in order to proceed if we're unable to reach a deal with the Shepherds. And with that, I'll turn this over to Nadise.
Can you elaborate on the nature of the critical juncture? Why is timing so important at this particular moment?
Well, the timing is important because we've got to get this right-of-way acquired, and the construction has to commence, and the construction has to be completed prior to the arena being opened. So we're really up against some deadlines, and that's kind of why it's becoming time critical.
Mr. Keating, so if that's the case and time is of the essence, then why isn't the Chatham Steel and the Tenenbaum properties further to the east also included in today's deliberations?
Well, we're not sure that we're going to reach that point. The appraisals were a little late in getting delivered, and we have delivered those to them, and we're in negotiations with them, and we hope that we'll have something to come back to council in 2 weeks to 4 weeks.
But I mean, if the time is of the essence and it's all one project, then obviously, one end of the project is just as important as the other end of the projects. It seems like we have time on one end of the project, but not time on the other end of the project. I'm just kind of curious.
Well, we've kind of reached for two of these three parcels, there are title issues, so they're unable to perform at this time.
Right.
They may be able to perform in the future, they may not. That process often takes a lot of time. So, we're just at a point where with these owners, we've reached kind of a stalemate to where we need to make a decision on next steps.
But the 1302, there's no title issues.
Well, we've been negotiating with them for months, and we're not getting any kind of, here again, we haven't got an acceptance, we haven't got a rejection, we haven't got a counter, we're just not getting any kind of substantive direction.
But we've answered their questions?
We've tried to answer all of their questions. If they have any more, we'll be happy to answer those as well.
All right, don't delay. Okay.
Okay, that's 1302. You want to go through each one of them and then come back?
We can go ahead and open the hearing for the first parcel. And then you have some people that may be here to speak for each parcel. So we'll start with 1310, David?
1302.
1302, okay?
Well, let me talk. Oh, I'm not necessarily. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I don't want to take the most difficult one first.
Okay? So
Okay.
we can go to 1310.
So I'll go through, go through 2 and then 3 as far as the description, and then we will start with all of them and go with what's number 1, and then we'll go through those that, in the sense of what's the most difficult, because
Yes, sir.
the 1302 is going to be the most difficult because of the business that's sitting there. So we want to make that's going to be the most difficult. Okay, let's go to number 2, which is 1308 West.
1308 Gwinnett Street. So this property is located on the north side of Gwinnett Street, just west of Stiles. It's immediately west of the Shepherd parcel that we've already discussed. Currently has a vacant house on it. The owner of record is Ruby Brown, deceased. The required right-of-way is fairly nominal, 74.1 square feet and a 165.9 square foot easement. The required right-of-way and easement were appraised. Ms. Brown's estate has not been probated yet. There are heirs, but none have authority to sell the property. I understand they're working on that, and they're trying to cure that. And, it's been several months since we first met with one of the heirs, and he informed us about this process. But council has advised us that that probate process can take quite some time. And so, we're here to request the use of eminent domain for the small sliver associated with their parcel so that we can progress with the project. And then the last parcel is 1310 Gwinnett Street. It's located on the north side of Gwynedd, just west of the Ruby Brown parcel. Here, I'm sorry, I'm moving on. So this was the Shepherd parcel. This was the Brown parcel, and then the last parcel is the Charlene Frazier Eckert parcel. This property currently also has a vacant house. The required right-of-way here is nominal as well, 44.7 square feet with the required easement area of 75.3 square feet. The required right-of-way easement were appraised. They were presented to Ms. Frazier Eckert, who resides out of town, and she accepted the offer and wanted to sell. In fact, she signed papers to that effect. Unfortunately, title work revealed that she was unable to convey clear title, that there were issues in the past that needed to be cleared up, and therefore she can't convey clear title. And use of eminent domain will clear that title when we acquire, and so that is why we are here for that parcel.
Mr. Keaton, it's in these types of cases where eminent domain is helpful.
Sir?
It's in these types of cases where eminent domain is helpful.
Helpful, yes, sir.
It does clear the title.
Yes, sir, it does.
So there's not a problem with 1310 in terms of the property owner's desire to sell, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Well, she wants to sell,
the
but she
issue-
can't sell.
Oh, I get it.
Right.
I get it. But I'm
Yeah.
following up the comment made by Mr. Johnson.
But I think the thought, and what we're doing here today is not a problem. We're getting title, but whether it's the actual ability to use the property is another subject that will have to be checked on later. For instance, Mr. Shepherd's property, whether in fact we got a problem with the entrance, exit, or whatever, or whether we got a problem with the other property being too close to the road, or whether we have a problem with this property being cattywampus in some way or another because we're taking some of the land. So what we're doing here today is we're getting title because we have to move forward with the road, but we have to negotiate the issue of value we started in January, but in theory, we have to continue on that process to a point, even going to court at our cost to make sure we give everybody an opportunity to get a fair price. But when we do that, we do give them an opportunity in the end to try to recover the best that they can in these situations. I want to make that really clear here because I've heard a lot of noise about people, thinking everybody's fixing to take the world, and we're not here to take the world. We're not here to take your property. We're not here to cause you any grief. But as stated earlier with the county, and the county had to take 4,500 parcels of property to do the road work that we've had done in the city of Savannah to be able to move around. And you've seen incidences where people have lost the ability to use their property. If that comes up, the city will step up to that situation, and we will either buy the property or we will negotiate a deal that you feel okay about. But it's not the end of the world for the person who is doing this, and I want everybody I don't want everybody to be that's watching the TV to get scared to death because of all the noise that's been made. And I really want people to know we are not out to harm people. but we are out to move forward with the with the arena project and try to do it in the best manner possible for everyone concerned. And I know people get nervous when you get people talking and you get scared, and I do too. I mean, I can understand it. So that being said, the easiest property would be the one where the lady would like to help her get her title clear. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and I just want to make just a point of clarity that, again, that we are here for the authority for staff to move forward. There's still the condemnation action that will have to be filed with the court. So negotiations, probate, all that can continue. So today is just only the first step to allow authority to move forward. There's nothing instant about today.
To allow authority to move forward with eminent domain?
Yes, which with filing with Superior Court, but there's still negotiation opportunities, so there's still open dialogue and so forth. As even when the documents are filed, there's still a hearing, there's still there's still dialogue. Today is just so that staff can actually move forward.
That's confusing to a lot of people. It's confusing to me, and I deal with property a lot. It's certainly confusing to others as well. Can you stop and elaborate on what does the action you're asking for today mean? What are the next steps? How does that coincide with what other property owners are doing, like 1308? There's a sincere effort going on to try to clear that title up so they can do something with it. How do those two coincide? Because it's confusing. This is not something we deal with every day like you do.
Right. Correct. So I'll try to put it in a simpler term. So staff works for council. So they cannot move. This is the next step. So by law, they have to receive the authority by this body to move forward with a court action. So that's why they have to do this. So if today you said, no, do not move forward, they could not take any further action. They can continue to dialogue and have negotiations, opportunities, and so forth, but they could not file anything in court. We could not move forward the condemnation.
So this is not moving forward in the court. This is giving you the right, the authority to go ahead and build your case to file in court. Do I understand that right?
Yes, sort of, and not necessarily build a case. We've already been working it. So there's been dialogue, there's been negotiations, there have been appraisals, there have been offers, there have been counter offers. And as you heard, several property owners have agreed to those terms. So at this stage, we're at an impasse. And the only way to move forward with this is because we don't have the authority to move forward without council saying, yes, you can file this court action, then that's why we're here. Otherwise, if there were negotiations and real negotiations with hard numbers, hard dialogue, we would continue those, which we are. And that's what Mr. Keating expressed about some of the other property owners. We even had, as Mr. Jackson's property was brought up, that was actually on the list. But dialogue continued and a resolution was resolved before we got here today. So we didn't have to ask for your authority to go ahead and file something in court and move that direction.
Okay, following up, because it's still confusing. I know you're trying to explain it, and I appreciate it, but I still don't understand the difference between a vote today to move ahead and a vote to file for condemnation.
We cannot file the condemnation without your authority today, period. We could not file it in
But is
Superior.
this vote today allowing you to file condemnation?
Yes, but we do not have to file it immediately. So we can actually postpone that. We can continue the negotiations. We can actually even set a date out to say we would not file it until August, or we would not.
But can you see how someone who
Yes,
doesn't deal
I
with this
can.
every day would be a little skeptical of that?
Yes.
And I mean, because I think Alderman Johnson used the term, putting a loaded gun on the table. It's a little threatening.
Yes.
And it'd be different if we had somebody who wasn't trying to cooperate. From what I understand, at least one of these is trying to cooperate, but there are legal maneuvers they have to go through as well.
Correct. So one that you're speaking of with regards to the probate that's coming up. So there was no probate court action taking place prior to our inquiry. So once we inquired about this property, and Mr. Keating can speak more clearly about the specific steps, but once we inquired about the property, then probate began. So she thought she could do something, but she could not, and so then she had to start with the probate action. So some of these properties, especially the ones that have the cloudy title, where they don't have the rights or interest to go ahead and move forward because they don't own it outright, then there are other steps to take place. But here's the other caveat, that even if the condemnation is in fact filed, there's still a hearing. There's still an opportunity for them to come and be heard. But we do not have to file it immediately.
So following through with what we're saying here, the urgency in this, we got two parallel things. The city wants to go ahead and start its process. It needs to get this work cleared away so we can go ahead and do it.
Yes.
You also have property owners on the other side who are trying to work to get control of the property. What we're talking about doing does not affect what the property owner is talking about doing. They can go ahead with what they're trying to do. We can go ahead with what we're trying to do. And at some point there hopefully will be some kind of negotiation in there.
And
But can you see where the property owner would be a little concerned about that loaded gun sitting on the table?
well, for ones that have a probate issue, they would have to get it cleared anyway to determine which heirs could have however much of the monies that are in. So they have to finish probate. So even if we move forward and we pay the monies into the registry, they couldn't still get it outright without having the probate issue on table. So they still need to move forward with that so they can have their clear interest.
Okay, so final question, because I know others want to ask questions too. The reason city staff feels we need to go ahead and move forward now is because we have months of work ahead of us, even if you approve this. Probate decision can also take months.
Yes.
So we're looking at setting this thing up, not a couple of weeks, but months before we can move ahead, which delays the entire project. Is that what I understand?
Yes.
I think you're asking a couple of twofold questions here.
Probably
So-
there, and I apologize.
No, that's okay, and it's understandable, because when it's a process where you have to get authority to move forward, people are concerned about why are you moving forward, how are you moving forward. So there are timelines that we're working with. So in order to move forward with these projects, the staff is looking forward at their timeline and how can they match that up. So if they don't acquire certain properties by this time and this time, then they're going to begin to get behind. They've spent months negotiating, and these are only 4 or 3 properties at this time. There are many more that have negotiated and have been able to be resolved in agreement and moving forward. These are only a few now at this point where we're at an impasse, and so the only way to move forward with staff is to get this authority to move. It doesn't mean that dialogue can't continue. It doesn't mean that the probate must continue, because it's very important to clear up that heir's property for that family. So they do need to continue to move forward with that, because when the monies come down, they need to determine how the split is going to take place. So that's important. That will continue. We do not have to file the condemnation immediately. But say for today, if you do not give us authority for staff to move forward today, then if something goes awry in 2 weeks, 6 months, staff's got to come back and ask for authority.
Okay. Thank
But
you.
it doesn't mean that it
Van,
can't be
you wanna-
postponed.
Get
I
in.
mean, I guess my thing is we meet every 2 weeks anyway. In just a couple of months, we've cleared properties that were not cleared the last time this came before us. And I mean, and I did not hear the word impasse until now. 1310 obviously is a situation where it can help. 1308, as I understand, is a probate hearing already scheduled, in which signatures have all been gathered and all necessary heirs, so that will clear next week. And so then the only issue is 1302. And I mean, I guess my sensitivity is we're saying that we want people, they need to make a decision. We're talking about people's livelihoods. We're talking about where people live. And so if I just can't make a decision today because I don't have the benefit of lawyers or real estate officials, I mean, think about it. We have professionals coming to these folks saying, here, sign this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I mean, we're asking people to make major life decisions that once it's done, it's kind of done. I don't see where we have, as I said this morning, and Alderman Miller mentioned it. I mean, negotiating good faith is negotiating good faith. This type of thing, to me, puts a loaded gun on the table and say, let's negotiate. And basically it says when we feel that we've gone no further, we can go ahead and file this. And that's my concern.
Understandable.
This is a lifetime for some people. And these are very, very important decisions. And I think I want to make sure that people are very, very clear. And I think in terms of 1302, they just want to know how it's going to affect them in the future. I mean, because we're saying it's one thing in terms of construction, but it's something else in terms of impact to their business. And the city, we have people that do those types of things to be able to provide that help. I'm just concerned, that moving forward today on those issues might be counterproductive and counterintuitive to the feeling that we're trying to say that this is supposed to better this area. I mean, again, if we didn't get it this week, in 2 weeks we can meet again. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal for us to have a meeting. We do this all of the time. I'm just concerned about the speed at which this is occurring. Particularly, I think 1310 is easy. 1308, if it doesn't work on Tuesday, we can come back in 2 weeks and do it. And then 1302, obviously, is some opportunity for us to continue to work with them. I just want to make sure we're remembering these are people's lives and livelihoods that we're talking about.
And just to speak to it, I know there may be another question. I just want to say,
Let's move question.
Mr. Keating did outline, but we can also make sure that we have that outline. Staff is not just appearing before you all today.
Right.
There have been months of interactions, letters, communication, so we just want to make sure
I understand.
that there has been some due diligence, not even some, but due diligence before even presenting this to council. So in all fairness to staff, they have worked, and if individuals were concerned about the questions, they certainly had every right to get counsel. We've communicated with lawyers, as you spoke on 1308. We've had contact with that attorney, so there has definitely been communication opportunity. So just to make sure that we, it's not one phone call, one letter, there is open dialogue.
But we are making progress on it.
Yes.
Carol?
So it appears to me that we probably should look at the three properties, look at the properties individually, as
Yes.
you've been doing up to this point. It appears that in the case of 1310, that eminent domain, starting this process, condemnation, will help this particular site because we can get a clear title out of it. So can we just start with that one?
No, we'll start with all of them here. We'll talk about them all.
No, we talked about
No, we're not through talking.
That's all I have to say. Start with 1310, then see what,
Yeah.
that's my suggestion, is to
That's what
start
we're
with
doing. We're going
1310,
We're going
then 1308, and then 1302.
Dr. Shabazz?
Thank you, Mayor. In reference to a conversation I had with one of the owners of 1302, and I'm going to reserve more of my comments when we get to that particular parcel. I just want us to keep in mind something that one of the owners said yesterday to me. She said that, it's just a difference in the other parcels that's on the table today, and that difference is that we serve people, and our business is our family's livelihood. So I just want us to keep that in mind. And the other thing is that the conversations, because as you hear them talk, I think we do need to give 1302 a little bit more time to, even though there's been due diligence and everything that all of you have done, just like the Tenenbaum property, still negotiating. I don't see where anybody's pushing down any doors in the next month, in the next 30 days, to not have more conversations with 1302. The construction timeline, I have not seen the timeline of that, but I'm pretty sure that if this particular property, and I think we could sort of get out of this meeting really quickly,
Okay.
if we just go ahead and do this and give those folks more time to do what they need to do, and we come back in 30 days or so.
All right, John?
Can staff tell me how much property we will try to acquire from the Tenenbaums?
That's a
Would
question.
that be a much more complex
My apologies. Would you-
acquisition than
That was my
lease?
phone. I was asking her a
On the
question.
Yes.
Tenenbaum, the Tenenbaum cemetery property. David might.
David? David.
You got it?
Looking?
Alderman Hall, I have the plats here. Let me look real quick.
Anyway, you can put that up on the screen
Uh,
to show what you're trying to acquire from the Tenenbaums.
I don't know if there's a camera. I don't know.
1302, 08, and 10.
So, okay, here we go. It's a much larger parcel. It looks like the required right-of-way is 22,734 square feet, which is a half of an acre. And the required slope easement is 1,177 square feet. So it's,
A significant amount more
yes, sir.
acquisition than what we are trying to accomplish today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. What's happening is,
Thank you.
with the Tenenbaum parcel and the Paxton parcel, that's the area where the road is being elevated. And so you have to have slope to come back down and tie that elevation to grade, so it consumes more land.
Okay, I do want some clarification, David,
Because I allow
or the city, I'm not sure who, attorney. A number of times that people have been contacted and you have spoken to different, the number of times you've spoken to each property owner, or letter to each property owner, or information back and forth, so that we know that we have done everything we can to participate and make sure we've informed them.
For the Shepherd parcel,
I can't hear you.
for the Shepherd parcel, which
Okay.
is 1302 West Gwinnett, staff has communicated with Mr. Shepherd and/or his sister a total of 13 times, either in person, via phone, or email. 1308 West Gwinnett Street, Ruby Brown. Staff has spoken with Mr. Charles Brown, son of Ruby Brown. So what happens is staff keeps a log.
Right.
It's called a negotiation record, and they log every time they communicate. 7 times, either in person or via phone. And then Eckert Frazier, she's out of town. There were 4 email exchanges, 4 conversations, and then there's also been certified letters and stuff like that. So multiple times.
Okay, multiple times. Okay, and this started in January? What was the first time you were contacted?
Well, I think it varies per person. Eric, do you have that negotiation log? Can I see that, please? I believe the appraisals were completed in January, and I believe the first contacts were made in February in general, but we'll get the details
Okay.
for you.
Okay,
So this has been going on for
okay,
quite some time.
okay. I need for somebody some clarification on my part. I've got 2 properties behind 1302. Both of those houses are vacant and have been vacant and are vacant now. Okay, so it's not like we're shutting down anything that's happening there. I understand you deserve any monies that you should get for these properties because of the value. I understand that, but we're not causing any hardship on anyone at those locations because they've been vacant for a long time. They're not being used, they're not drawing income, they are just sitting there. The property at 1302 is not the same situation. We understand that we got a business that's thriving there, that's running there, that we need to make sure we take care of. But at some point, regardless of how we feel about the whole situation, we have to decide to make a move to do what we got to do. You can't ride the fence back and forth. You cannot sit there and, as a city, we have to move forward with these projects. And we've bumped up, and we've been backing up, and we've been backing up, and we've got people that are upset with us now because this has taken so long to get to where we are now. And we're at these points where we need to make some decisions on these properties. This enables you to start the process and to make some people whole and try to make sure some folks that are in business can continue on in some other fashion or be satisfied with the results that they have long term, or get some kind of arrangement that they're satisfied with. But we have to go forward. We have to go forward with this. And I don't want people to feel like that we can just back up, because you got these people up here who don't want to make a decision or worried about making a decision, and they keep backing that situation up. We can't do that, because we've got this canal district that we've all agreed we want to go in, ready to move forward, groundbreaking in September, a timeline that says we need to have certain things done before we get to that point. Otherwise, we're going to have a mess on our hands when we start trying to put everything together and try to make the final push on this arena project. So I suppose I'm asking the folks that are being impacted here, and more folks that's going to be impacted, that please forgive us for causing you grief and causing you pain. We understand that it is on some of your parts. I understand we are doing that. But please understand that we as a body representing you, also as a business person at 1302, you know you can't sit in the middle of the stream. You got to make a decision at some point on something. And that's where we are today. And I would hope that this body would vote based on that and move this forward, not understanding that we understand we're causing you hardship. We're going to try to work with you to make sure we can make you as whole as possible. The courts will guarantee you that you can, the courts are going to be behind you about 1,000% compared to the city going forward with it. So we are going to upend you. We are going to cause you problems, but we are going to bend over backwards to work with you any way we can. But we as a body of people of the city of Savannah have to move forward. We cannot back up. And I think we need to take a vote today to do each one of these, to move them forward, because it's going to be it's going to be the end of July, the 1st of August, before we even get to go to court to talk about it, at least. Well, that gives you 30 days to talk with our group again, bring your attorney. If you're not satisfied with what we're doing, bring an attorney, get somebody. Let's get squared up and make you as whole as we can, but understand we as a community have to move forward, and I apologize for that fact, but I hope everybody here realizes it's time to vote and it's time to move this forward, because we've been at it for 2 years that I know of, and I'm sorry for what we're causing you. Thank you. Okay, Van.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your comments, but I'm proposing that we can move on 1310 today, move on 1308 in 2 weeks, and move in 1302 in 30 days.
Mr. Mayor, and I do understand the difficulty this poses to the property owners, but I keep hearing this, the analogy of putting a gun on the table. We don't have a gun on the table, we have a clock. The staff cannot release the construction documents to start Gwinnett Street until the right-of-way issue is cleared. Now, once the right-of-way issue is cleared, we can start within the next 2 weeks to at least start advertising. Now, we've got to finish the construction documents. We've got probably 6 weeks of advertising, maybe 2 weeks of evaluation, and then it comes back to the council, and then there's a notice to proceed. So we're talking about 3 months just to get started on construction. My concern is if construction doesn't begin soon on West Gwinnett, it's going to impact the arena project.
Right.
City Council has signed agreements with an operator with an architect, with the program manager, and the construction manager. Okay, same as you did on, I'll use the example of the Cultural Arts Center. Cultural Arts Center encountered delays.
Right.
We've had change orders, cities had change orders at the end to pay the architect more due to extended time. We've got one coming on the construction manager due to extended time. We're going to face extended time consequence from the 4 contractors because Gwinnett Street is definitely a City of Savannah obligation under those contracts.
Right. What's the clock?
What's the clock for?
Well, say we move today, the clock starts. What are we talking about?
My concern is if we wait a month to get all this cleared up, then we're that much farther behind before we can release the documents.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Folks in the audience, each one, I suppose, has someone to speak on. Let's go and let's start with 1310. Who would like to speak on 13 West Gwinnett Street? 1310 West Gwinnett Street. Is there anyone that's an owner first? Okay. Okay. Commissioner Ellis. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me clear up some things now. I'm standing before you as Reverend Chester Ellis, the president of the Historic Carver Village Neighborhood Association. City Council, you have a chance to make this a win-win situation. Now, staff talks about the last couple of months, the last 6 months, but the Historic Carver Village Neighborhood Association have been working with these families and with the neighborhood on this particular issue since Mike Weiner first brought it to us 7 years ago, all right, and the widening of Gwinnett Street. 90% of the work that's going to be done will be done from Stiles Avenue east to I-16. 90%. That's the largest parcels of land that you need. But you don't have a contract, nor do you have an agreement with the folks who own those parcels of land. You are in negotiations. The 3 parcels that you're talking about on the west side came up to being in the last 18 months. They were not a part of the original traffic engineers' plot and maps that they showed us in the beginning. The families involved here did not know that their properties were involved until the neighborhood association brought it to them. We had information that the city staff didn't have. We had information that the family members didn't have. But we brought them all together, even information that the church didn't have. But we brought them all together. Let me say, why not make this a win-win for everyone? The way everyone can win-win is because having talked to the families that's involved, one of the young ladies, one of the descendants tried to sell it, for which the group agreed to, but they found out that they couldn't do that without going through the probate situation. We had to explain how that gets done. The neighborhood association had to explain to them how that got done. They have the lawyer in place, they have the paperwork in place, and we're not talking about waiting no 5 or 6 months, all right? All we asking you to do is back off what you're doing today. Give those families the chance to meet their court date, which is already set, in this month. Then you don't even have to go to court. The families will have the ability to negotiate with you a price for the properties, and they are willing to do that. All right? The other side of the coin is on the 90% side, you don't have an agreement at all. You don't have an agreement with Chatham Steel. You don't have an agreement with the Tannenbaums. And that's where 90% of the work's going to be done. The less than 10% that's going to happen on the west side can save you money, because then you don't have to pay your lawyers to go to court to file all these papers y'all talking about. So you don't have to pay them that court time. you can save monies. Plus, you can have a win-win situation with the neighborhood association, with the landowners, with the arena project, and everybody else. And I just want you to know now that if it wasn't for the neighborhood association, the families wouldn't know where they were. Staff wouldn't have known where they were. And there are staff members who can testify to that because they did not know. And so all we ask for you to do is don't take the little guy and put the gun on the table or whatever reference y'all want to use. Don't push them around to make them come to a decision today because you vote to put eminent domain. When you vote to put eminent domain in place, you limit what negotiations you can do with them. And we're asking you to don't cut their legs off, let them continue to walk.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm not coming again for the other.
Appreciate it. All right.
That applies to all.
I got two questions that, Mr., not to you, and just asking, Mr. Shepherd, have you got a court date set? I didn't. Do you have a court date set at this time?
He's not going to court.
Mr. Brown.
I can't hear you.
Mr. Brown.
The wrong one.
Yeah, I know we have one. We got one probate set, right? And that's for that's for yours, right?
Okay, yeah, I got a court date set, July
8th.
I think.
And I'm going
Does 13 you at 1308?
1308.
Okay, at 1310, do they have a court date? They don't have a clear title either, do they?
Correct.
Yeah, that's.
And Mr. Shepherd, do you have a court date?
There's no court
You do not have a court date. Okay, my point in all this is there is no set date to get it done, except for this one right here. Charlie Brown has a set court date. That being said, what is the difference in doing it today and it not costing you anything and doing it in 10 days or whatever number that is, and it costing you for all of that? It's up to you. I mean, because you'll be spending the money. If we do it, am I correct? If we file, who pays?
They still need to.
Same way you treat Ted Ball.
Come to the mic.
I will.
I only had 6 to 7 weeks to get it prepared. And what happened?
Can he come to the mic, please?
Come on up, Mr. Brown. It's aggravating, I know it.
First, good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
I am a fair individual,
Right.
and you're not being fair to me and my property.
Okay.
The home Chestel has contacted me and made me aware of this. I came down to City Hall. I met with David Keaton, and David Keaton explained to me what was taking place. I got an attorney that same day we started to work on it. I contact my brothers and sisters, and they all agreed to make me the executive of the estate. I'm saying don't treat me real bad, and you're treating Tenenbaum different. If you're going to do eminent domain, do it on him as well. Be fair. All of you guys be fair. Don't take the little man and kick me around.
Okay.
Because I don't feel good about that. I'm a good guy.
Right. And nobody.
And you call me Mr. Shepherd. It's Charlie Brown.
No,
Brown,
I didn't.
may I
No,
ask you a question?
Mr. Brown.
May I ask the question?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like for us to do for your property? That's 1308.
1308, I say give me 60 days.
You can't do that.
Can't give me 60?
No, you
Then-
got your court date. What date is that?
Okay, my court date is July the 8th.
Or July the 8th.
Yeah, give me 30 days then. I should have some things clear in 30 days. I think that's fair, Mr. Mayor. That's all I'm asking.
We'll give you to August 1st.
Okay.
August 1st.
August 1st. Give everyone the August
Give
1st. then.
all three to August 1st. Is that?
That's fair enough.
No?
Because one of them needs to be cleared now.
We'll clear the 1310 because they've got to have help. They've got to have help. But you,
And I want to thank you.
you're gonna do your deal, right? So, Mr. Brown, by the end of,
Well, I can tell you Mr. Brown's a good guy.
yeah, I know
Well,
that.
thank
I already-
you.
I know-
I'll
I
start
know.
with that, but the other is Mr. Brown's going to appear and go to probate court.
You're right, July the 8th.
Yeah, but then the process doesn't, you're not going to get that wrapped up in 30 days.
No,
There's
he
an
will get-
advertising requirement and.
He will give me, I hope the judge would give me, because my brothers and sisters already agreed to let me be the executive of the state. I followed David Keaton information. He told me bring the letter to show him that I will be the executive of the state. And that started 6 or 7 weeks ago. This been going on almost 10 years and I got 6 weeks. You know, I don't think that's fair. I'm asking for the same opportunity. Give me a little time.
But if we tell you we can't do that.
Okay, you say August the 1st, we're going to work with August the 1st.
Okay.
The difference is with the Tenenbaum, and we shouldn't be talking about that because it is a active negotiation,
Right.
but we're countering that right now. We should have that one wrapped up. I mean, there's been discussion back and forth. We made an offer, they countered. We're going to go back to them with another. So we should have that wrapped up within the next 30 days. I mean, closed within the next 30 days.
Mayor, you said August the 1st.
August 1st, yeah.
But we,
Yeah,
but
I
is that?
think it's important, not only that we be fair, but we appear to be fair. And I was thinking about that before you said that, Mr. Brown, and we all know Charlie Brown, we all know he's a good guy. We're trying to be good guys here, too.
Bless you.
I think the August 1st, you said you could work with
I
August.
can work with
I
August the
think we
1st.
should work with August
Okay,
1st.
now,
I do think we need to move
let's-
ahead with the
1310.
1310.
Okay, 1310 we need to move forward with, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
There's a comment down here, Mayor.
May I interject this? 1310 have the lawyers and things in place too.
We going to go ahead with 1310.
If you talk with them, other than going ahead with this, if you talk to them, you may be in the same boat that
Yeah.
you in with Mr. Brown and with the others.
I'll go with Mr. Brown on August 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, City
Just
Council.
hang right there. Now, listen, I want, let's get a clarification of what we're saying. That, what we're saying is, either we have Mr. Brown, before you head out now, right, just look at me here. Before we head out, we agree that on August the 1st, we either have an agreement with the courts that you've got, or we have an agreement with the city that we've got. One of the two is gonna happen on August the 1st, right? That's fair, is that fair?
Is that
Can-
I just want to clarify what you're suggesting.
Microphone.
Oh, I apologize. I'm going to get used to this at some point. Are you suggesting that we move forward with the authority to condemn the property no earlier than August
Yeah,
1st,
August 1st.
2019?
Yes.
And Mr. Brown and I, or his attorney
Or
and I,
negotiate it out and you
Yes,
get
sir.
your probate guy or you do whatever you need to do, but in the meantime, by August the 1st, we're gonna condemn the property, we're gonna take it, or you're gonna have something worked out and everybody's gonna be happy. Well, might not be happy, but you're gonna be better.
The strip for the right-of-way, not the entire parcel.
Right, I don't care about it. Right, no, okay.
that is permissible.
That's a different subject.
And we have a meeting on
how about-
August 1st, so.
Mr. Shepherd, how you gonna work?
August 1st.
Talk to Mr. Shepherd.
What I was suggesting, what I understood is that you're
Right.
going to vote to, Alderman Johnson was asking a question.
Yeah, let me
He
hear-
was asking about, do we have a meeting on August 1st? My understanding of what the mayor is asking is, you're going to vote today
Yes,
to authorize us, staff, to move forward with eminent domain proceedings against 1308 no earlier than August 1st. So Mr. Brown and I, or his attorney and I, can continue to negotiate between now and August 1st. If we cannot come up with an agreement before then we'd move forward with the condemnation, with the idea of we'd still continue to negotiate after the eminent domain, but it would allow the city to move forward with the.
does that
That
make
what you
sense?
said?
Yes, does that make sense to you? You okay? Okay. Now I got,
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
how you doing?
Little
I am.
1302?
1302.
Let's start Shepherd's Children.
This is E. 1302 West
Yes.
Gwinnett. Where we ask you to stop by, don't ride by.
But, Mr. Mayor, one second, Mr. Shepherd. Being that we've reached some accord there, do you think it's more appropriate we close this hearing and vote on an action, and then we deal with this? Because really, it's getting kind of confusing.
I think so.
I'm hoping Mr. Shepherd does the same thing, though, and I thought we could vote on them all together.
Right, but what's happening is they're really separate hearings, and we're hearing them all together. We might want to just
Okay.
clear
All
a
right.
table of one.
You
and
want to,
then
you want to vote them separately?
I move to
Okay,
close
all
the-
right, we'll
move
take
to close the
the,
hearing.
Because we got an
we'll take the
agreement
1308 West Gwinnett Street,
Move to
okay?
close the hearing.
Second.
All right, we got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it carries. Okay, we make a motion. Somebody make a motion.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve resolution authorizing the use of eminent domain to acquire a portion of 1308 West Gwinnett Street. Can we do both of these at the same time? And 13?
No, that's not it.
No. Come on, Alderman Johnson.
1308 Gwinnett Street, no sooner than August 1st.
Second.
No, I want him to say,
That is permissible. Yes, Mr. Mayor. That's
okay,
appropriate.
so that is okay. That takes care of him. He's in good shape. We're not running over him, and you're going to get this figured out between now and then, either with your attorneys or with ours.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. All in favor? Aye. Oh, any opposed? Here, none, it carries. Okay,
Mr.
check
Mayor.
that one off. Now, let's go to,
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain to acquire a portion of 1310 West Gwinnett Street.
okay,
Second.
I got a motion, and I got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here, none, it carries.
Yes, sir.
You good with that? Okay.
Thank you very much.
In the hearing now. just
Now
saying
reopen the
hearing's
hearing. Okay, let's reopen the hearing. Come on, somebody.
That's all you need.
Okay, let's go with this hearing here.
Ready? You know, Mr. Mayor, my emotions are extremely high right now because we've been in that neighborhood for over 30 years, serving the community, serving all over community in ways that you all will never know. And for the information that I heard as it relates to us being contacted, it just really hurt my heart because we have done our due diligence in speaking with Chip. We've only had 2 correspondents from Chip. Other than that, we've emailed him. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago was when we received he brought the correspondence to me. So 2 weeks ago, we were going back and forth, and then out of the blue, I received a letter of this meeting occurring. So I didn't know what to think because we were in full negotiation mode. We are not interested in holding up the process. We've always said from day one that Shepherds wants to be a part of the development. And when we look at our city, there are a few African American businesses that are part of this for us to be considered the sweetheart of the South. So we're always talking about inclusion. And that's all we want, inclusion. Inclusion. We want to be able to continue to take care of our family like everyone else does. The American dream is to own your own. Give us that opportunity. Don't take it away. Now, when we talk about the plans that they have for us, our space, as most of you all know, is extremely tight. So any movement whatsoever is going to make it more difficult for our customers to come and support us. And especially when it's time for the construction part. And then on top of that, we have the elevation of 7 feet. So guess what? Traffic is going to have to be rerouted. How much of an impact is that going to be on my business? For 2 whole years, 24 months, people are going to have to want to come to Shepherds to get there. That impacts me, that impacts my family. But I want to let my sister share some information with you all because she's the one that's been handling the process for us, and I'll let her come speak now.
Good afternoon.
Hey, ma'am.
State your
Your name, ma'am?
Deanna Baker.
Yeah, Ms. Baker? Pull it.
I'd like to really track back to some things that have been said, because I've heard words used today that I had not heard before, such as impasse and timelines and adequate notification. Granted, this process has been ongoing for some time, but it has only been within the last 2 to 3 months that we have been able to introduce to Chip and Eric and had some correspondences with them. So it's not like we're lax in helping this project move forward. We are and do want to be a part of the process. But at the same time, this is a business. It's not a resident, it's not a vacant resident. This is a viable business in Carver Village. As my brother spoke, we don't have much property to begin with. We operate a tight area as far as entering and exiting our gas pump, which is the drawing card to our business. If you're just asking for, you say maybe 3 feet to 10 feet, well, that's not much. It is much if you're already limited. What we have been trying to do with Chip is to address those concerns that we have. Chip has responded to them. On Chip's last visit, he came, he brought an offer that reflected some of our concerns, but not all of our concerns. So then we proceeded to contact Chip again, and that's where we are. We are in active negotiation like others, and therefore we don't think it warrant you all wanting the right to issue an eminent domain in order that you may move quickly in a situation that's not really moving quickly. And we are indeed operating in the timelines that we are aware of. On Chip's first offer, we had 90 days to respond. And that was back in June, 90 days. Where does that put us today? We are at July 1st, less than 30 days. So what happened to our other 60 days that we have to gather our information, gather our resources, employ whoever we may need to employ in order that we may respond to your offer? And this is what we're asking of you all today. There are other means of acquiring or, making this happen. And eminent domain is not always the only one, but it's the only one the council has chosen to use. And I feel it is unfair to us and our operation that you wish to issue eminent domain because it has been stated that we have reached an impasse, and we have not.
Okay. All right. Carol?
So,
And then Van.
Deanna, a question for you, because this is new to me. I've talked to both you and Josie, even as recently as a few hours ago, the attorney and I did. But this is the first time I'm hearing that the city gave you in a notification 90 days to review an offer. I hadn't heard that, David.
David, come on.
I'm sorry?
You have it in writing?
Letter with me.
You got the letter with you?
Letter?
With me right now.
It was 90 days.
I believe it was
90 days in June.
Yeah.
July 2nd.
He's pulling up. That's-
So this is the first time I'm hearing this. Let's move on, though. While they're
All right, well, let's,
clarifying that,
Yeah.
let me ask you another question, Deanna. So as I posed the question to Mr. Brown when he was before, what, best case scenario, what would you and Josie like for us to do?
Well, again, we like
Go
to...
back to the mic. Deanna.
We would like to continue negotiations until we can reach a favorable and agreed upon and equitable for what you all are asking for us.
So now we just
Now-
gave Mr. Brown 30 days.
90 days.
talk,
Can
hey,
you
go
come
to
in
the
the microphone,
mic,
please?
and you go ahead and talk loud, because I'm deaf. Okay?
You're referencing? You don't have it with you?
They don't-
So, I believe what she's referencing based on the file is an option agreement. So once we can arrive at a mutually agreeable deal and price, then we would sign an option agreement that's good for 90 days. So that gives us 90 days to close the deal. But that's not 90 days to consider the offer. So maybe there was some confusion there. And so usually these offer letters are for 30 days. And so maybe that's where the confusion lies. So.
Okay, so you got, okay, I'm not going to he said, she said, okay, let's don't worry about all that. What we are, where we are is we kind of need to move forward with this job, and I want to know if we can move forward with this job.
Sure.
In by the 1st of August, if that's possible.
But because it is an income producing,
I can't hear you, Joseph.
can we not have 60 days because of the different aspects of what we're looking at? Oh, 90 days.
Can I explain that 90 days opportunity?
Okay.
State your names.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear it, but
Yeah.
when you pull that microphone up a little bit, thank you, sir.
Your name.
State your name.
My name is Graylin Quarterman, Mayor, Council, staff. Thank you for holding this hearing today. Just 10 seconds of my background. Retired from the Corps of Engineers after 33 years of federal service in the real estate division. And we acquire property all over this state and all over the country for the Corps of Engineers. And we always say that we hate to use the nasty C word. We use an eminent domain, and we say the nasty C word was the last thing that we would pull out in order to acquire property for public use. Because the negotiation change. Once you pull eminent domain out, the table change on negotiation.
Sure.
And so does your timetable. Eminent domain is not a fast process going through the court system unless you know something I don't know.
Right.
That's a lengthy process. But the Shepherd have had this property in this business 30-plus years in this community. They have requested the master plan several times for this project because they wanted to see how they fit within this project. They have not denied that they would sell you the project, sell you the property that you want to acquire. The first offer came through was an insult. And I'm not going to give the price. Those prices should be confidential, but I want to give you an example. The offer was similar to offering them $15 to a property that costs $150,000. And if somebody give me a price like that, guess what I do? Tear it up and throw it in the trash. You ignore it. And you realize that that price was an insult based on your second offer. I won't say what that is. You and Mayor and Council, y'all know what that second offer was. So that was worthwhile considering. They took serious consideration in that.
When was that? When was that?
That offer came through. I don't have the date. I think that was the one with the 90 days that they thought was the 90 days to respond to. And they were using that 90 days as a measure. Chip got an email, letter, with several questions on it to get them more information, and you provided that information last week. They are going through that information to make a decision that affect their life after 30-plus years. 30 days is inadequate to ask a business to relocate or to modify their business. That's just not acceptable. 30 days is not enough. And if you go through the court system, it's going to give you more than, you're going to have more than 30 days on the eminent domain. They've asked for the master plan continuously to review that master plan to see how they can better situate themselves to provide service to that community. What they're asking in short today is that to give them 90 days to do some research and look at the master plan and talk to staff about how they fit within the master plan. Not just the business on that corner, but how they fit within the master plan, and to use staff expertise to help them get where they need to be. Thank you, Mayor. You said you would bend over backwards to help them. I'll close with this statement.
Well,
you said you would bend over backwards to help them.
Right.
And we thank you for that statement.
Yes, we
ask
would.
you to do that by giving them 90 days to look at all the information that was provided to them and get back with you.
Okay, let's, This eminent domain is and call it whatever you want to. We're asking for a sliver of property that we've got to have clear before we can start. If we're going to start on that project, actually start on that project, we got to have that property to design from and do the designs and so forth, okay? That being said, it's going to be 6 months before we start, in reality, okay? So you're going to have time to figure out how you're going to service your customers and do all that and how you're going to make this happen. There's not a question about your timeline. You got time to do that. But because of the time, we got to get the drawings, we got to do it. Is it 3 months to get to the drawings? Am I right?
No, sir, the drawings are almost complete.
Okay, how long? How long will we start up?
Well, it's preparing for construction documents. Heath, I mean,
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is approximately 6 months, but I mean, it's going to be between 3 to 6 before construction will start. Is that what you're asking, Mr. Mayor?
I'm asking, before I interrupt him in his daily life, how long will it be before I interrupt his function?
so the documents will be ready for bidding within 30 days.
Okay, and then let's talk about, okay.
But of course, we can't release them for bid until all the right-of-ways.
Okay, so we're going to have all the right-of-way,
Right.
and by, let's say we get it all done by August the 1st.
Well, 30 days to finish the documents.
After August
Probably
1st.
6 weeks of advertising, then
It's
maybe
2 months.
2 weeks before
That's
it comes
3
back to
months.
council.
Okay, I'm at 4 months now. From this point now, I got 4 months. You wanted 90 days?
Yes.
Yep, I got 4 months, but I need that property. Okay, I need the property. I'm not in, and you got to figure out we're going to do right by you as far as developing that plan you want to do, but we need that property to move forward with this project. And if you want to be a part of this community,
Correct.
this is where we go it. We need to go ahead and do the property, but you got 4 months before we're going to bother you.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Okay? Yes.
So are you saying that you would not, or we would come back in 4 months and actually be presented with the idea of you all having the right to invoke eminent domain?
Yep.
Okay.
No, we have to go with eminent domain now because we got to have that property. You got to give us that property, that spot, that little sliver, but we understand we're going to impact your property to the point that it is not going to work like it should work. And I do want to make a point. Now, I want to make a point for the city's sake in this, that on Shepherd's property, had it not be for where the well is that we've got, your people, your customers could not come to your gas station if they didn't drive on city property before they got there. So you're using city property to get to Shepherd's right now. And we have allowed it. Oh, and it's all right. And I'm not here to say anything other than let's work together. Just like we have over these years and hadn't said anything and nobody said anything and everybody, somebody went by there and just turned in there that time and it worked out good. So another one did it and all of a sudden we got a road there. But in reality, it's on city property. That being said, I'm not worried about that right today. What I'm talking about today is that little piece of property that we got sitting out there we really need. And is there a way that you can feel like you could do whatever we got to do to make that happen and feel comfortable with the fact that we're going to negotiate this thing out to where you can get there
Mr. Mayor.
without everybody getting all mad and all?
Right. Mr. Mayor, I think the city has had plenty of planning time with their master plan to kind of determine what they want in the future. And just asking that you give these landowners the same opportunity to plan out without the eminent domain. But eminent domain on the table, it changed the negotiating game. Let me.
I understand what you're saying,
let me say
but
this.
you know that we can't move forward on a project without owning every bit of the land.
Right.
You know that.
I understand.
Okay,
And what I don't
that's
wanna
where we
do-
are.
What I don't want to do is punish the landowner because of the untimely management of time with this construction, because if the landowner was involved initially while the city was planning this out, not just 13 months ago or the 13 emails that corresponded. But let me just mention one thing that happened in eminent domain. If we are in eminent domain, the judge is going to give the landowner the time to do what they want to do, which is going to slow you down anyhow. And so what I'm asking you to do is to give these landowners the opportunity to do their due diligence on the friendly ground. Eminent domain is not a friendly ground. That's why we in the federal government calls this a nasty word.
Don't call it eminent domain and just sell me the property then.
And
then let everybody feel good about how it sounds, and then we can go forward.
Well, they indicated that they have not said they will not sell you the property.
Okay.
They've got to make sure that do due diligence, make sure the right price is there if they're going to sell it. They also got to make sure on what they're going to do in the future, maybe expand on that property or relocate. There's some decision that these folks who've been there for 30-plus years have got to make. They've been planning this for 30-some years, and just in a couple of years.
It's been there forever. I understand that. I know Mr. Shepherd. I know who he
So
is.
he's just asking for
Yeah,
90 days.
What? I need some direction from y'all.
I have a question.
Here.
Mr. Monahan, so you said in order for us to be able to file the necessary documents, we have to have acquired all of the properties, all the right-of-ways that's needed, right?
Yes.
So it is your expectation that the Cham Steel and Tenenbaum properties will be acquired by that time, so we can move
We
forward?
are in negotiations with counteroffers, and yes, we are anticipating that'll be wrapped up and brought to the council within the next, I want to say 30 days, but approximately 30 days.
30 days. And so, that being said, if it would be to the city's benefit for us to have more amicable relationships in terms of being able to resolve this informally rather than going through the eminent domain process, because that is kind of long and protracted, right?
I would always prefer that it be arm's length transaction and agreeable.
Right.
Yes.
So obviously, if we're able to work this out internally, then we're able to avoid the eminent domain process. We actually would save time, because obviously we have to go through the eminent domain with all of the filing and stuff. It would actually take longer.
The only advantage to eminent domain as far as the release of the documents, once the eminent domain, once I know that that property will be, that the city will acquire it, that this council has provided authorization for the staff to proceed, I can release, or the city can release the bid documents for Gwinnett Street.
I see.
I can't, until the right-of-way is acquired, I cannot release those documents.
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor, who?
So if the property is, if there's an amicable arm's length relationship and the property is sold, you could also do the same thing.
If it can be timely.
Okay.
Going back to, that's the clock that's sitting right here.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, who makes the decision on the eminent domain?
Council does.
City Council
No, the judge
authorized
does.
the.
Oh, I mean,
Is that what you're saying?
judge,
Is that what you asked?
The
Who
court
votes
makes
for
the
it?
decision on the eminent domain, is that correct?
judge.
Judge and a jury.
The decision whether that property is going to be sold on the eminent domain. You got to file a petition with the court,
Right.
ask the court permission to file that.
Right.
And one of the questions the court is going to ask you, do you have an alternative plan if this property doesn't work? That was one of the questions that Mr. Shepherd asked as well. In the
Okay.
document coming to you.
We don't. We won't have one. It's my understanding. Is that right?
Okay, and so and the reason I asked that question is if you put the shepherds in the courtroom, you're gonna get bogged down with the eminent domain process. Right now, you got willing folks who are willing to sit down and negotiate with you and just asking for 90 days.
Okay.
And
I can't give
Jesse-
you 90 days, though, sir. I can't do that. You know, that's where I am. I can't do the 90 days.
That's not the process.
Let's.
Casey.
We need to make it, you know, I'm not trying to be rude or hard here. I'm just saying we've got to go with this thing now. And I got 30 days. I added 30 days to it.
Okay. If we agree with you with the eminent domain, we are going to get 90 days in the eminent domain. So that's why I'm saying, let's go to 90 days on a friendly ground.
I can go 30 days on a friendly route because I got 30 days. That's what I'm telling you. You got I don't have that, and then we're going to go to court and do all this other stuff. But I need 30 days to where we can get that sliver of property to do what we need to do, and y'all negotiate whatever y'all negotiate with them on that other part,
It's different than
at y'all's leisure after that. This part right here has to go forward to move this project forward. And we're talking a $165 million project out there, hanging out there on just this piece of property. And I know that's a lot to carry, and I understand it. And is that pressure? Sure, that's pressure, but that's where we are.
Mayor, I have a question about eminent domain. How long does it take attorneys for the eminent domain to move through the courts?
Okay, let me try to clarify. We would file a petition to take title to the property. We would get that title to the property 7 or 10 days after we file the petition. It happens very quickly. The protracted litigation involving eminent domain becomes the value that the city would pay to the owner. That becomes the long-term fight. But we would acquire title almost immediately after filing the petition.
But that's not what we want to do.
Correct.
What we want to do is do 30 days.
So how long is the whole process? How long is the whole process of eminent domain?
And work out an amicable agreement, not this, whatever you call that there. That sounds like a gunfight to me.
Doctor, again, let's say we file the petition on August 1st, for example. We would have title to that property, I would almost guarantee, no later than August 15th. And then we could move forward with what we need to do for the right-of-way acquisition.
The bid documents.
Yes, sir.
Bid documents.
The litigation associated after that, after August 15th, is how much we should have paid. What was just an adequate compensation to be paid to the property owners. That's what the fight becomes after the taking. But once we file that petition and we get that order from the court, we immediately take ownership of that property.
But it'll be another 4 months before anything happens, so go ahead.
Question, Mr. Levitt. If we voted today to do what we said before, wait 30 days before we file.
Yes, sir.
No sooner 30 days. What's the difference between us voting today to allow you to do that and us voting 4 weeks from now, which just gives them 30 days as a friendly conversation? You could still file your paperwork very quickly after August 1st, right?
Got some notice issues. We set this hearing up specifically because there's special requirements for how much time the property owners need to be notified as to when this hearing is going to occur. It is slightly different than just a continuation of a city council meeting. Like, for example, we continued the show cause today for another 14 days. There's specific deadlines that we have to comply with so as that they have the proper amount of notice so that the petition is properly filed.
I got that. My concern is I'm hearing the communication that the Shepherd family felt like they were getting doesn't seem to jive with what the city felt it was communicating. And communication is a wonderful thing. We don't do it very well in a lot of times. I'm concerned about the communication and the position we put somebody in. If we're really going to be doing an honest negotiation, would it really delay things that much if we said, okay, we're going to table this for 28 days, it'd be 2 weeks, 4 weeks from the day. Give us a time to sit there and say, hey, what can we do here?
I want to say again, and I know that it's been said, but negotiation won't stop today. And I understand Alderman Johnson's analogy about the gun on the table, but we are going to continue to try to do right by all of our citizens. And we want to provide them just and fair compensation because we're required to do so, and it's the right thing to do. So even if you authorize for us to file tomorrow, 30 days from now, 60 days from now, I'm going to continue to try to negotiate with them for as long as we can. But this allows the project to move forward if you authorize us to do what we need to do to take that property when we need to take it. But negotiation will continue forever.
Mr. Mayor, can you give this family 60 days?
Negotiations will go on after the eminent domain process. So would that include negotiations for him losing business during construction?
Yes, sir.
And okay, post-construction, all of that.
Yes, sir. Business loss.
That will,
loss to the remainder. Yes, sir.
Loss of income and all of that will go on after the process.
Yes, sir.
And that's one reason, and I'm glad you said that, John, because that's what I wanted to speak to. Negotiations regarding loss of income can't be predicted. You won't know that until time has passed and you compare your base income today with what it is a year from now, 2 years from now, what kind of impact construction has on, the construction process has on your business and all of that. So you wouldn't know that anyway. So yeah, I'm just agreeing that negotiations will be ongoing, and I think that's the discussion, part of the discussion Attorney Bates and I had with Deanna and Josie earlier today.
But we do have a business development department. We have some tools that it can be of help. I think obviously this situation is much different than the two residences.
Oh, absolutely.
And, have we thought about deploying some of our internal mechanisms to try to provide some assistance and helping them to be able to forecast? I mean, again, I can understand for them, it's their livelihood. So, I mean, have we tried to say, we understand that and what ways we could be able to help them to make a decision that, works best for them? I mean, we've helped businesses develop. This is a business. It's one of our small businesses. So I just think that, maybe there's an opportunity there we could have missed, focusing so much on the construction. The fact is, this is a viable business in our city, and how do we help maintain its viability throughout this process?
Mr. Mayor.
Let me let Dr. Shabazz speak, and then we'll come to you, and then we're going to wrap it up after you get through.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to, for the city and along with this business, this family, to stay on a friendly course. And I hear the mayor and the conversation about the 90 days, and they may think that's too long. And if that is too long, I would make a suggestion that before any eminent domain or we take a vote on this property, that this family would agree in their business, would agree for 60 days for, and what Alderman Johnson just mentioned about, our entrepreneur center helping this small business. And I know this might not be relevant to this conversation, but I just feel a need to say it. Mr. Shepherd and Ms. Baker, I am aware that there in the city of Savannah and in Chatham County, at one time, there may have been, in the history of this county and city, there may have been approximately 3 African-American owned service stations in the history of our being around here. So right now, I think it's only about 1 or 2. Is it about 2? 2. 2.
You got Mr. Jackson, he got you.
Okay,
right.
there are 2. I just needed to say this, that we're talking about a small African-American owned business where gasoline has been and with African-American owned businesses, gasoline has been such a small part of the numbers of owners in that particular business. I just wanted to say that. So my suggestion is that if we can give this business and family just staying on the friendly side of things, 60 days, they can look at the master plan. We can offer as much help as we can for them to do forecasting in their business. We're the city. We want to help people. So, Mr. Mayor, if you agree with that, before we do any of these types of measures, I hope that will be a good fit for everybody.
So I'd like
up 60.
Yeah, up to 60
Let's
days.
hear from them, and then we're going to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the Shepherds want to show that they are good friends of the city. And I think this is a measure to show that they're willing to negotiate even now and before. You said 30 days. They asked for 90 days. Let's meet us halfway, 60 days, and give us some opportunity to do the work that we need to do.
File September 1st.
If that's what they want.
Do we need a motion?
60 days is reasonable for us to continue the relationship of what makes Savannah.
What
it
does
is.
60 days do?
What does that do to you?
I'm not talking about construction. I know it delays construction. I understand that. So, what does it do with the negotiations, though, in reality? Are we going to negotiate to have a final in 60 days? Or do we need to plan on,
We had already.
this is a complex thing that we're doing here, and it's not something you're going to decide
Yeah, that's what I mean.
in
Give me-
30
give me before
days,
September
or in
3rd.
60 days, or in 90 days, in the way I feel about it.
We
But
can go
it
with that.
is very simple
Well,
when you
so-
come to the point that we have to have a piece of land to make this development move forward. And that's the point I'm making. I can negotiate and come to some reasonable terms on the back part of this. I can't do it on the front part of this, because we got to release that contract, and we got to move forward. And whether you say it's the last 2 months, or if it's been the last 9 months, or February is like what ours says, it doesn't matter. The point is, we're here today because we have not moved forward with this, and we need to move forward.
Right.
And we come up with the 30 days to give you room to breathe, and I just need to move. We just need to move this thing forward, and I don't want to holler and carry on about it. What y'all got? You got some ideas?
So, Mr. Mayor, what I might suggest, because of what the Shepherds have compromised, I think the city can meet them partially. So if the council goes ahead and authorizes staff to proceed and file September 3rd, that's going to give you your,
The 6th of it.
that's going to give you your 60 days.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
What we would ask you to do.
No, don't
Hey,
add, no.
but I'm
We're not adding anything to it now. We got 60 days. I heard that, you heard that, let's all dance. What are you saying, Pat?
If you want, Mr. Shepherd and Mrs. Baker, I'll meet you Monday in my office and we'll start. And bring the gentleman retired from the Corps, and thank you for your service.
okay. Mrs.
Okay,
Want to make a motion?
Okay.
we got it? You got it?
Yep.
What does that say? Will you say?
And
you
anything
understand?
he needs, the master plan will make sure that's available too.
Okay, so,
Because we're hopeful that it'll be before September 3rd. that we'll reach-
Absolutely.
reach
Yeah,
an
we
agreement.
will
And we're
negotiate
going to bring
good
all the
faith.
resources
so
to
we're
bear
gonna
to get that done.
negotiate, let me make sure I'm clear. This is where all the problems come in, because all different types of communications are going back and forth, and that's what happens. So I want to make sure that we're clear.
Okay.
If you would, please restate that for me.
So the mayor and council will proceed with adopting the authorization for staff to proceed, but no document will be filed with the court until September 3rd. That gives us the time to reach agreement, and then even after that point, we can still discuss and negotiate.
So are we taking the eminent domain off the table?
Yes, sir.
No,
But
no,
to-
no,
but
no,
today,
No, we're not.
That's not what he's saying.
no,
That's not what he's
saying
saying, but that's
60
what we need to
days.
say.
We're treating,
That's not what he's
we're
saying.
treating the Shepherds and Mrs. Clark the same as we treated Mr. Brown and Miss Eckert Frazier.
Why can't we just take the eminent domain off the table for
Please.
60 days?
Please.
The problem with that is I cannot proceed with letting the bids on Gwinnett Street widening. So
Mr. Monahan,
that means I get
But I
delayed.
thought-
I don't issue, those bids don't get issued for, I don't know, 60 days plus another 60 days.
I'm not going to go into the situation about
All right.
bids and what the city can do. The
Okay.
city can do what the city wants to do.
City can only comply with state law, and the state law says advertise for 4 days, and I cannot
I'm not-
advertise without the right of way.
We're not going around a circle with this,
All
Mr.
right.
Monahan.
All right, that's it. Let's call it. Okay, so what we're at point now, we've got the city attorney, the city manager saying that 60 days. Tell me that again, make it clear. And this is what I would like somebody to make a motion on this when you hear it. If
Move
it
to
makes
close the
sense to
hearing.
you, you do it moving forward. But this
Yeah.
is where we headed.
Mr. Mayor, move to close the hearing.
Mayor,
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, now,
all in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, come up, Pat, what we doing?
So the council would adopt a resolution authorizing staff to proceed with the eminent domain for 1302 West Gwinnett Street, but not to be filed until September 3rd or later. Meanwhile,
Give you 6
staff will
days.
negotiate in good faith with the Shepherds and Mrs. Clark, with Mr. Shepherd and Mrs. Clark, to reach an amicable agreement before then and continue even after the condemnation's filed, if the condemnation becomes necessary.
Okay.
I'll
that's
confess
the
I have
motion.
a problem with that.
A problem with that, too.
As I understand it, you own this property.
Yes, sir.
You could make a deal tomorrow.
Sir?
You could make a deal tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And if we make a deal tomorrow, we don't need to do all this.
That's true.
This stuff. What I heard the shepherds ask for is not what I heard us offer. And it seems to me that we could be able to come to some kind of terms, try to figure something out. If I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of land out there that not that the shepherds own, but there's a lot of land out there that's vacant and not being used. It seems to me that if we really want to negotiate, we could come up with something maybe in the next week. Again, I go back to what I said. We not only have to be fair, we have to appear to be fair. And I hear a family saying, I didn't hear the things that you said. I'm conflicted on this.
What are you saying?
I'm saying,
Yeah.
let's delay this decision 30 days and give, without any motion towards eminent domain, see if we can't come to some kind of a terms here.
So moved.
What's
No, well, we can't do that unless they agree to that. So let's see. Do you agree to this in 30 days?
Second.
No, let me finish the comment, okay? We got discussion. It's to you. You got 30 days to agree with us, or you can take the 60 days and agree with us. You got those two
60
choices now. You can do it like him, and it sounds good and nice, but you only got 30 days. Or you can do it like we say and do it and give you 60 days to work it out, and then you at that point.
But
Okay,
but the difference is,
What's the
one
difference?
is with eminent domain on the table, and the other one with eminent domain off the
Are
table.
we saying
It's
60
okay
days
either way.
without? Can we have it without? Can we have it without the eminent domain, to be fair?
At 30 days, you can't.
60.
No, sir. No, sir. I don't, well, no, I won't say that. I won't say that. That's a vote we have to take here. I'm not the guy that runs this
But
show.
we need your leadership
I'm
on this,
just
Mayor.
it takes 5 votes to make this happen.
Right.
So
But we need your
whatever,
leadership.
whatever.
We need you as a business owner, you understand that.
I understand, and
Exactly.
that's why I'm negotiating with you and not saying flat out, this is what's happening. And I negotiate with everybody because I understand there's got to have wiggle room,
Right.
and I'm giving you 60 days wiggle room.
Well, 60 without eminent domain, we're good.
Can you file against him in 60 days if he doesn't come through?
You would have to authorize us to do that.
Okay,
You would have to adopt the motion that
and how do I do that? How do I, okay, let's come back.
I
Okay.
withdraw I withdraw my motion and restate the motion, given 60 days.
Okay, you like the 60 days?
No.
You got 60 days right now, right?
Without the eminent domain on
Without
the
eminent
table.
domain, same thing we
No.
did for Charlie, except it's 60 days instead of 30.
That is not the same thing we did for Charlie.
But you gave Charlie 30 days before you come to
No,
that. Isn't that
we
what you
didn't.
did?
No, we didn't. We did not.
Mayor, I second it. Come on, let's go. Mr. Mayor, come on, let's do this.
We do 60 days and do the eminent domain, or 30 days without eminent domain. That's what he's proposed. I've heard 60 days.
No.
No, what'd you say, Van? You and Dr. Savannah?
It was 60 days without eminent domain.
Okay, let's
Mayor.
vote on that one. Let's vote on that one. Is it 60 days
But that's
without?
not what you all
eminent-
offered.
City manager and city attorney cannot work. Can they
Yes.
work with that?
Yes, it can
Yes,
work.
I don't
Okay.
understand what that motion is. I mean, I don't think that you need a motion to continue to negotiate to try to resolve amicably.
Okay.
So if you're going to take action this afternoon, I would say that you need to move or to vote on motion number 1, use of eminent domain required portion of 1302 Gwinnett Street. And you can either vote that up or vote that down. You can vote that up with the caveat that Mr. Monahan mentioned, that it would not be filed any earlier than September 3rd, 2019. But there's no I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there's
Can
no
this
reason.
hearing be, well, it's
That's
closed.
the one I'll do.
Can't be continued.
I I'd rather it not, no, sir, because there's specific requirements for notice.
Okay.
It worries me.
Okay. All right, we can't do that. All right, so,
So, Mr. Mayor, I would just ask, because the night is getting long, could we just do the 60 days with no eminent domain?
no.
We are.
I mean,
we've
just,
already compromised.
he just said he could not do that, the attorney.
The attorney, I know he can make that happen, because we were in conversation earlier today.
What I'm saying is they're going to vote on that motion, and the council is either going to vote it up or they're going to vote
Yo,
it down.
We're gonna vote one way or the other.
If it fails, essentially, if it fails, then we're continuing negotiations without eminent domain.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, your attorney said that that motion without eminent domain doesn't do anything, but it actually does. It put a timetable on us to make a decision in 60 days.
The problem with that is, the problem with that is we start the clock at the end of that 60 days all over again, and that's not good for the city. We can't start the clock 60 days because we're trying to feel good here today. We got to have that thing, we're giving you 60 days. We've done that. We can't go past that. Now, how do you go from, oh, well, I can't say we can't go past that. We're going to vote on this.
Upon advice of the
Okay.
attorney, I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay, he's withdrawn his motion, so that's not on the table anymore.
Well, only because he says it's not advisable to do that way. So.
Okay, it's not on the table, it won't work. Now, I need 60 days, eminent domain filed after 60 days. Is that way, we read it, we vote on it here, everybody agrees we going forward with eminent domain
No,
after 60 days.
let's do, to show you how kind-hearted I am,
Okay,
let's do 45 days. Now, let's do
Business, Charlie.
let's do 45 days.
Yours is a residence.
No eminent domain, assistance from the city staff.
Okay.
Fair?
that's fair.
Okay.
Does that work?
You want to make that motion?
We don't
Well,
vote
no,
on it,
we're
we
not
don't
gonna-
vote
we
on
don't-
it
we
today
don't
then.
vote on it.
We don't have to
Oh,
vote.
that's right. We don't vote on it then.
Okay, so we out of
But
here?
he's recommending we just table this for 45 days.
Right, okay.
Mr. Manager, I just asked before that, in addition, that we make our business development services available to them.
Okay,
Right, we'll
what's
be in
the
Mr.
next
Monahan's office on
business
Monday.
meeting,
Right.
business meeting, I mean, what is the next meeting of the city council working this 45-day clock?
We meet on August the 1st, well, we meet on the 4th, well, the 28th,
Probably the 29th.
18th,
So
the 1st, and the
say the
15th. 29th August?
Yeah, we've got,
Yes,
we got
August
3
29th.
meetings. August 29th. August 29th,
Many days is
we
that?
have us an agreement, August 29th, that gets you,
Thanks.
Does that satisfy your notice requirements, Mr. Lovett?
29th.
Okay.
okay, what you got?
Does that-
Talk to me.
Does
Hold
that
on.
satisfy your notice, what are the notice requirements?
30 days.
30 days? So this would give you enough time
August
to,
29th would give you enough
so the
time.
end of July, you could
Okay,
give
so
notice.
either August 29th, we have a deal, or we're gonna
Right.
have condemnation, one or two, is that right?
Listen, everybody have a good 4th of July.
Thank you, Tank.
You have a great one. Okay, that's where we're going.
And thank you, Nisi.
Thank y'all. There's no other business to come before the council?
But I hope not.
Do we close the hearing? Huh?
It's already closed.
Already got 2 voted on, all we gotta do is. Okay, that's it.